Johnny Talk Sports in with the Week 17 NFL predictions. And this is the final week of the regular season, and there are still a total of 7 playoff spots still up for grabs. And what a Week 17 we're in for. So many teams are fighting for one of the playoff spots still up for grabs. Others are looking to build some momentum going into the offseason and in 2021. And the highly anticipated Black Monday. Black Monday is where a lot of NFL franchises, they move on from their current head coach. Although I'm not sure what we're in for, because we've already seen 3 head coaches get fired during the season. I mean, the only head coaches I could think would be fired at this point could possibly be Adam Gase and Anthony Lynn. It's already been announced that Vic Fangio will be returning for 2021, although I could see the Jaguars possibly moving on from Doug Marrone and try to hire an offensive guru for Trevor Lawrence, which the Jaguars have clinched the number 1 pick in this draft, and it's highly anticipated that it will be indeed Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. So let's get right into the Week 17 NFL predictions. Now, since there is no game on Thursday night, no game on Friday, no game on Saturday, all of the games will be played on Sunday for Week 17. And our first game of the week, the Dolphins and the Bills. Now, the Dolphins are in the playoffs with a win, while the Bills a win and they clinch the number 2 seed, which in any other season would be great, but in this season with the expanded playoff, they're still playing the wild card. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sean McDermott and the Bills are going to take this game. Are they going to compete hard for that 2nd seed, or are they going to rest Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley? Are they going to rest their starters and kind of give them the off week that I feel like could really benefit some teams, at least down the line, especially when you're a team like the Steelers or the Titans that had a bye week early on in the season, and you're talking about playing all those weeks consecutively without a bye week. I think that could really benefit a lot of teams this year, especially with only the top seeds getting the bye week. But I think the Bills are going to want that 2 seed, because you just never know. Maybe the Chiefs get upset early in the playoffs, like probably in that divisional round. You just never know. Then the playoffs would end up going through Buffalo if they were to win. But I just can't see the Chiefs losing at any point in the playoffs, at least till the AFC Championship game. So I'm going to pick the Bills, though I think they're going to want that 2 seed. I just think that Josh Allen has had an MVP-type season. While the Dolphins, you got to give them credit, though. I mean, last year they were tanking, but Brian Flores, I think he has brought a new heartbeat to this Dolphins franchise. I mean, it's the tale of 2 seasons for the Dolphins, really. They didn't get off to a strong start to the year. Then, once they handed over the starting job to Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins just started to win games. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick had to come back last week against the Raiders while Tua was struggling and pulled off a come-from-behind win. I mean, no matter what happens to the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins, they are a team to be reckoned with in the coming years. Because remember, the Dolphins right now, they still have a top 5 pick in this draft. I mean, just imagine if they can utilize that top 5 pick in the draft, they use it smart. Man, the Dolphins, they could be a dangerous team going into the future. But I think the Bills will win this week. But we'll see what happens to the Dolphins moving forward. Next, we have the Ravens and the Bengals, and this one is pretty self-explanatory. The Ravens are in the playoffs if they win, and I think they will do that. I think in these last few games, Lamar Jackson has gotten back to his self from last season, and I think that continues. So this pick seems pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this matchup. Next, we have the Steelers and the Browns. It has been announced that the Steelers will be starting Mason Rudolph at quarterback for the Steelers this week, which this is huge for the Browns because the Browns, they're in the playoffs with a win. And despite the Browns last week losing to the Jets, despite being down your top offensive lineman in Jedrick Wills, and being down 4 wide receivers, I think the Browns can get it done this week. I think with the Steelers starting Mason Rudolph, I think the Browns are going to pull off this win, and they're going to make the playoffs. And what better way to end 2020 and transition into 2021 than the Browns making the playoffs? I think the Browns making the playoffs will be exciting for the NFL. I mean, the Browns have been the laughingstock of the league for the past 15, 20 years, if not longer than that. And to see them in the playoffs, I think that would be huge, not only for the Cleveland fan base, but I think for the NFL in general. So I'm picking the Browns to win and pull off this, somewhat of an upset, but it wouldn't necessarily be an upset considering the Steelers are starting their backup quarterback. Next, we have the Vikings and the Lions, and I won't take too much time with this one. I mean, both these teams are eliminated from playoff contention, so this game is kind of a confidence booster going into 2021. And I'm going to pick the Vikings to pick up some confidence going into 2021. I mean, when you look at the pieces you have with the Vikings, when you've got Justin Jefferson, who I think should be Rookie of the Year, and Justin Jefferson, I believe he's 4th in receiving yards in the entire NFL. And to do that as a rookie is pretty impressive, especially when Kirk Cousins is your quarterback. I mean, just imagine how good Adam Thielen, how good Justin Jefferson could be if they had a different quarterback. I mean, could you imagine if, the Vikings had someone like Josh Allen, or if they had someone like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, how good they can be? I know Lamar Jackson is more of a running quarterback, but I think Lamar Jackson is underappreciated. Or could you imagine if the Vikings, they had Dak Prescott, who I think is also underappreciated. And I think that Dak Prescott is being appreciated a lot more this year than he ever has. Because think about how the Cowboys are doing. I mean, if the Cowboys still had Dak, they'd probably clinch a playoff spot already. I think Dak Prescott is that much of a difference maker to any franchise. So I'm picking the Vikings to win this one. Next, we have the Jets and the Patriots. I mean, the Jets, they're coming off strong these last couple of weeks, a 2-game winning streak. Never thought you'd hear me say that. Never did I think I would say that. Going back to week 6, I never thought I would say it. But the Jets are on a 2-game winning streak. Well, the Patriots are out of playoff contention. Another thing that I never thought I would say. But I'm going to pick the Patriots to win this game. I just feel like the Jets, I really feel like Bill Belichick would really hate to lose the Jets out of all teams. While the Jets, on the other hand, they don't necessarily have anything to lose. They've already clinched the number 2 pick in the NFL draft in April. Although Adam Gase, this could really save his job for the Jets, although I feel like Adam Gase will still be let go on the infamous Black Monday. But I'm going to pick New England to win this game because I just don't think Bill Belichick has any interest in losing to the Jets, despite maybe it being beneficial to get a higher draft pick, but still. Next, we have the Cowboys and the Giants. Now, this game is surprisingly important. I mean, the NFC East has been so bad this season. The winner of this game could still get to the playoffs despite having a losing record. Because if the Washington football team loses to the Eagles, the winner of this game will win the NFC East and represent the NFC East in the playoffs and, for some strange reason, host a playoff game. So, in this game, I do anticipate this to be a hard-fought game, despite it being between two teams with a losing record. And the last time we saw these two teams play, this was the game where Dak Prescott suffered a season-ending injury. And Andy Dalton, he brought the Cowboys back in the game. He rallied the Cowboys team and they won off a game-winning field goal. And I think this game will suffer the same fate. I think it's going to come down to a game-winning field goal, and it's going to be heartbreaking to whoever loses, because whoever loses is automatically out of the playoffs, no matter what happens with the Washington football team. But I think the Cowboys win this game, probably a game-winning field goal, although Zeke has really underperformed this year. But I will pick the Cowboys in this one. I think Zeke is going to finally have a big game in Week 17 when it matters. Next, we have the Falcons and the Buccaneers. The Falcons right now hold on to, I believe it's the third or fourth pick in this draft, but I think it's the fourth. But I think with a loss here, the Falcons will lock up the third overall pick in the draft. And honestly, being the Falcons, the last couple of seasons we've talked about the Falcons possibly tanking, and they've just hurt their draft stock each and every time. If the Falcons win this game, they could go from picking third to possibly picking, at the very worst, ninth. So either way, the Falcons will have a top 10 pick. But I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game. I'm just not sure how much playing from the starters will get in this game, because it would be very smart to rest your starters. But I think Mike Evans is going to want to play enough to get to 1,000 yards in the season. I think the Buccaneers will win this game no matter what happens, because the Falcons, they should just lose this game, pick third, move on. Next, we have the Packers and the Bears. And the Packers can clinch the number 1 seed with a win here against the Bears. Well, the Bears, a win and a Rams loss, and they're in the playoffs. But I'm going to pick the Packers here. I think eliminating the Bears' playoff chances. I just think Aaron Rodgers is playing, I'd say, the best, one of if not the best season that he's ever had. He has been very efficient this season. I'd say his only bad game this year is against Tampa Bay and possibly Minnesota as well. So those are really only his 2 bad games this season. I'm going to pick Green Bay to win this one. Next, we have the Raiders and the Broncos, and I'm just going to state a pick here. I'm picking the Raiders in this one. Both these teams are out of the playoff race, but I think the Raiders will win this last game in 2020, kind of just for pride and confidence going into 2021. So I'm picking the Raiders. Next, we have the Jaguars and the Colts. The Jaguars' only win of the season came in Week 1 against this Colts team. And the Jaguars have already locked up the number 1 pick in the draft. But I'm going to go with the Colts in this one to win this rematch in the final week of the season. Because the Colts, they have looked a lot better ever since that Week 1 loss against the Jaguars. And the running game stepping up. T.Y. Hilton is starting to get back into the mix again. And I'm going to pick Indy in this one. Next, we have the Chargers and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, Andy Reid has already stated that a lot of the starters will be rested in this game. So I would imagine among the starters that will be rested will probably be Mahomes, Travis Kelce will probably get rested up. Tyreek Hill will probably get a rest in this one. I'd say Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be rested. I think Le'Veon Bell will probably play the first half, and then they'll move on to their bench. So I suspect Chad Henne to get the start in this matchup, which is why I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. Because a win here could possibly save Anthony Lynn's job as the head coach of the Chargers. Now, I don't know if they're going to use 2020 circumstances to save Anthony Lynn from being fired this year. But a lot of Chargers fans are wanting Anthony Lynn gone. They're wanting a head coach that can actually coach Justin Herbert. I think the Chargers win this game. I think they pull off this, upset against the Chiefs, despite the Chiefs resting half their starters, and it's going to pretty much be second and third stringers. So I will pick the Chargers. Next, we have a very interesting battle in the NFC West between the Cardinals and the Rams. Now, Kyler Murray is questionable for this game, although it is being suspected that Kyler Murray will be able to play in this game. But for the Rams, Jared Goff had surgery on his thumb, and he will not be playing in this matchup. So they're going with John Wolford, the backup quarterback. out of Wake Forest, I believe. And Cooper Kupp also got placed on the reserves list today. So the Rams are without their starting quarterback, Jared Goff, and one of their top receivers in Cooper Kupp. But the good news for the Rams is, the silver lining is, you still got Josh Reynolds having a good season this year, and Robert Woods, who, if he can get some carries in this game, run some jet sweeps with Robert Woods, give him some space, and the Rams can move the football. As tough as this game is to predict, though, I mean, the Rams' defense still looks pretty good, pretty solid. We saw the Rams' defense dominate against the Cardinals when they played the first time. But I'm picking Arizona to win this time around. I just feel like with Jared Goff not playing for the Rams, I think that's going to really hinder the Rams' offense and their play style. I mean, the Rams, they may seem like a run-first type of offense, but Darrell Henderson got placed on the IR. And Cam Akers, he's still a little bit banged up, but I think he's going to play this week. So right now, I'd say the bulk of the carries are probably going to go to Malcolm Brown. And I think this is a recipe for a Rams loss. But I'm going to pick Arizona in this game. Next, we have the Seahawks and the 49ers. Now, could the Seahawks rest some of their starters? Could they rest Russell Wilson, knowing that he has to play a game next week? I mean, it's highly anticipated that C.J. Beathard will probably get the start again this week. And Brandon Ayuk is not going to play this week. A 49ers receiver that really has done surprisingly well this season, despite the circumstances that the 49ers have to deal with. The 49ers have had 3 different quarterbacks this season. They've had Garoppolo, Mullins, and Beathard. So Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't stay healthy. I mean, George Kittle, he will probably play in this game, although I feel like it'd be wise to maybe shut down George Kittle for the season. You don't want to risk injury, especially to one of the best tight ends in the league. But I'm going to pick Seattle. Although I'm not sure how much the Seahawks are going to have their starters play, even if it's just for a half, I still think they can put up enough points to hang on in the second half if they do indeed choose the rest of their starters. Because I see a lot of teams doing it this week. I could see it happening. Next, we have the Saints and the Panthers. The Panthers going off a win against the Washington football team last week, while the Saints, they're coming off a dominant win against the Vikings on Christmas Day behind 6 touchdowns from Alvin Kamara. And I'm picking the Saints here. I mean, this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, once again, how much will the Saints starters play knowing they have a game next week, knowing they have to be in the wild card next week? So I'm going to pick New Orleans, although this one could be one of those picks where I get wrong, though, because I'm just not sure how much you are going to want to play your starters, considering that Drew Brees is coming off of, 12 fractured ribs. I feel like you don't want to risk injury to Drew Brees. Next, we have the Titans and the Texans. Now, this is one thing that I can be sure of. Last season against the Texans, Week 17, Derrick Henry dominated. He was lights out in the playoff clincher for the Titans last year, and I think he will again. I think Derrick Henry is another big game this week, although he was held to less than 100 yards last week against the Packers. I still think that this is going to be a big game by Derrick Henry. I think he'll have a similar outlook last year like he did last year this year. So I think Derrick Henry will rush for maybe 215 yards, probably 2 touchdowns. So I expect a big game out of Derrick Henry as he locks up the leading rusher in the league, the rushing title. So I think Derrick Henry will win that for a second consecutive season. So I'm going to go with the Titans. And finally, Sunday Night Football, the Washington football team, and the Eagles. And with a win here, Washington is in, while the Eagles look to play spoiler. If the Eagles win, the winner of the Cowboys and the Giants game will clinch the NFC East and the playoff spot. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. I don't mind what you think about this. But The NFL seems to care about ratings. I mean, all sports care about ratings. But what kind of storyline do you want here? Because no matter what you get, you're going to most likely get a storyline. The only thing that is stopping a proper storyline or proper ratings, one of the two, is the Giants winning. Now let's just say the Cowboys, they do indeed win against the Giants. Well, will the NFL go out of their way to help the Eagles win this game to put the Cowboys, also known as America's team, in the playoffs? Well, or do you want that feel-good story? You want that storyline of head coach Ron Rivera beating cancer this season? Alex Smith, the comeback player of the year. What kind of storyline do you want? The storyline or do you want the ratings? I mean, part of me thinks that they will want to go with the ratings here because, the NFL is kind of selfish and all they care about is money and ratings. But I think despite that, I was kind of mixed about this pick. I thought that on one hand, maybe the NFL goes out of their way to try to help the Cowboys make it to the playoffs. Since they are America's team, they get the most ratings. Since they're America's team, whether you like them or not, many people will watch Cowboys games just to see them lose. Well, it was anticipated earlier this week. I wasn't sure what they were going to do at quarterback because the Washington football team, they cut Dwayne Haskins just this past week. And before that, Haskins was benched in favor of Taylor Heineke out of East Carolina. Now, Alex Smith is being projected to play this week. And I think that's huge. Although, what is the status of Washington's top receiver, Terry McLaurin? What is his status? Because if Terry McLaurin plays, I can see him having a big night. I can see Logan Thomas having a big night because Logan Thomas is getting the targets. Well, I am going to expect some questionable calls in this game if the Cowboys do beat the Giants. But I think the Eagles will find a way to lose this one. I think the Washington football team will win this game, and it's going to be the feel-good story of 2020. In Ron Rivera beating cancer, Alex Smith returning after missing 2 seasons after a devastating injury. And my vote for comeback player of the year. And he better get comeback player of the year because not many people can recover from an injury that Alex Smith has recovered from. I mean, Alex Smith is very tough, and I think he's going to lead the Washington football team to the playoffs. So those are my Week 17 NFL picks. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment your picks down below, and I will talk to you next time.